have the same invisible energy. What energy is controlling you? Have you ever felt that you have all the resources available to take action, but you felt stuck? There was nothing physically stopping you, however, you felt a force holding you back from moving forward to achieving your goal. Well, you are not alone. Many have had similar emotional and mental hindrances and levels of uncertainty. The question is, how do we overcome? Speaking from personal experiences, when feelings of despair overwhelm me and there isn't anyone immediately available to share my thoughts, I turn to the only source I can truly rely on through prayer and study of the Holy Scriptures. I gain comfort from the Psalms, where King David's words of wisdom strengthens my faith and propel me into action. It's through our faith in God that we are blessed and have the sense of belonging and hope. Galatians 3:9 says, "So then, those who are of faith are blessed with Abraham, the man of faith." When we look at Abraham's life, we see a man who walked with overwhelming faith in God. When God called him to leave his comfortable and prosperous life in Ur, he did not know where he was going, but he chose to obey and lived in tents in a strange land God had promised him and his descendants. Hebrew 11:8-12. I have grown to understand that the acronym of faith is "Forsaking all, I trust Him." The expression of Abraham's obedience is a good example of how this quality is applied. There are a number of reasons for feeling stuck and having an inability to progress. One major reason is fear. Having a fear of success or a fear of failure. Fear can be manifest through behaviors such as procrastination, distraction, self-doubt, and feelings of rejection. As a teenager, I used to hear the repeated acronym of faith as false expectations appearing real. But it still didn't prevent me from allowing this negative energy to overpower me. A brief look into these 4 areas may help us eliminate some of the false expectations that cloud our minds. Procrastination is one of the biggest stumbling blocks to success. Brian Tracy, in his book Eat That Frog, states, "The more clearer you are about what you want and what you have to do to achieve it, the easier it is to overcome procrastination." We have to ask ourselves, how much do we really want this, and then apply faith to it. Faith without action is futile. James 2:14 says, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? By faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." Verse 17. Distraction. Brian Tracy states, "One of the very worst uses of time is to do something very well that need not be done at all." It is much easier to get sidetracked on insignificant things than to focus on the main task. Distraction causes us to lose insight and delay the process of the work to be done. It is important to plan our day in advance. Make a to-do list from the previous evening for the next day, scheduling out specific times to complete the work. Self-doubt. Consider how we view ourselves. Is it in a positive or negative way? If we have been brought up in a negative environment experiencing negative behavior might appear normal to us, especially if we have been constantly put down, told we can't do it, and we are not good enough. Having these statements played over in our mind will hinder us from achieving. However, we have to remember we are children of God and are called to be His light, so darkness cannot remain in us. Ephesians 5:8. The Holy Scriptures also emphasize that God gives us a spirit of boldness. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 states, "For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but one of power, love, and self-discipline." Our past negative experiences does not have to influence our future. We can break the mold by trusting in the Lord and gaining comfort and confidence from His Word. Isaiah 43:18 and 19 states, "Forgetting the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" How we view ourselves will determine our success or failure. If we develop a positive mental image of ourselves, visualize the person we intend to be in the future, and act as if we are already there, we will experience success. Feelings of rejection. Jesus warned His disciples regarding rejection. He reminded them, "If the world hates you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you." John 15:18. Paul, while leading the early Christian congregation, also encouraged followers of Christ how to view rejection so they would not be affected by it. He writes in Galatians 2:20, "I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in my body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me." Here, Paul made it clear that he was no longer living for himself. He accepted, as Christ did, to be crucified, to live a faithful life toward Jesus Christ, the one who was first rejected and died for him. We have a choice to live by faith or fear. We can adapt Paul's principle in any given situation and diminish the feelings of rejection. Rejection can affect us in two ways. We can allow it to affect our confidence and self-esteem, or we can shake it off and move on. This, of course, is easier said than done. But when we are in tune with God's Holy Spirit and His Word becomes a supernatural energy that overwhelms us, we can accept His promises are faithful and true. His unfailing love continues forever. Psalms 105. We also have the assurance of Psalms 37 verse 4, where it states, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." We cannot do anything by our own strength, but we can take Him at His word, that we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Romans 8:37. Greater still, He doesn't want us to fail. He wants us to succeed. Psalms 35:27 states in part, "And let them say continually, the Lord be magnified, who delights in the prosperity of His servants." Knowing we have this covering, it is my hope for you, as I have, to choose faith as your controlling energy, recognizing your self-worth and accept that fear only have the power you give it over your life. Psalms 32:8, gives us the full assurance of God's love, favor, and protection, where it states, I will instruct you in the way you should go. I will guide you.
I can see clearly.